And please enjoy Jamie's interview with Kat Von D.
We have a lot of listeners who are just kind of weirdos, in like the best, most possible way, and will find themselves either trying to pursue like art or music or whatever. Sometimes we will get emails from people that are like, hey, I had to cancel my membership and can't send you donations anymore because you've inspired me to follow up my dreams and be an artist. And we're like, fuck, yay.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So I wanted to ask you first, before the animal stuff, so we can win over the non-vegans and trick them with vegan material, is what's your kind of thought on trying to live as an artist in a very, like, not necessarily artist-friendly, like, society? If you have kind of any, like, words of wisdom or, like, things that, like, kind of pushed you through when you're like, oh, this is crazy that I'm trying to draw when everyone wants to get, like, a real job or whatever.
Yeah, so you mean, like, what's the challenge in just being an artist or something?
Yeah, or, like, for people who kind of think it's, like, impossible.
Right. I mean, I'm the worst at giving advice, that's for sure. I think I have like such a unique, well, I don't know, I'm sure a lot of people can relate to it, but you know, I wasn't born in America. My mom and dad are from Argentina, from South America. And then my dad was like a missionary for the church, and was finishing out like his medical school in Mexico, and that's where I was born. And so I didn't come to the States until, you know, I was like 6 or something.
Yeah.
And it's pretty much like brought up by like very Latin culture and not Americanized Latin culture, which is totally different.
Yeah.
So there's like a sense of conservative values, not political, like conservative as in like, you know, we just very modest and like humble livings. Like we didn't have shit for money, you know, or anything.
Yeah.
But I think the ideals were very modest. So my parents, you know, went to church every Sabbath and all that stuff, and their idea of like tattoos, for example, that was very much connected to like gang life, or you're a drug addict, or like a prostitute or something like that, you know. And it's
my dad thought that when I got tattoos, and I got tattoos like 6 years, like fairly recently, and I still think you have this image of like going down to the docks. And,
totally,
like,
and I feel, and it's weird now, like, because I haven't talked about like this in a long time. Actually, it's funny, but it's weird because we don't live in that time anymore. I mean, I look at just, you know, like in America, there's like, I think it's 1 out of 3 women that have tattoos. Yeah. So like you got to think like the generation of grandmas that are coming up, or moms that are living right now that are totally tattooed, you know, and they don't really have those negative like stigmas, you know, that surround it. So anyways, but my point to all this is that, you know, I started tattooing when I was 14 years old. Yeah. And I was just hanging out with, like, you know, a lot of punk rock kids and stuff, and I was like painting like punk rock leather jackets all the time. And so I had like a buddy that was doing like homemade tattoos, like super ghetto and totally not sterile and whatever, out of like dull guitar strings and batteries and whatever. And so but I remember doing my first tattoo. It was a misfit skull, and I was like, it was like this overwhelming sense of being home. I don't know how else to describe it. It's like I just knew this is what I wanted to do forever, and then nothing would stop me. And so like, then, you know, I was 14, so I was 2 weeks into my freshman year of high school, and I just went to school and I looked around and I realized like, oh no, this is not for me. You know, I like, I already know what I want to do. I understand high school. I know it's like the dynamics of learning social structure, circles, whatever the fuck, but it's just not for me. So I just like decided to pursue it. And it was, my dad, I think, was more upset that I dropped out of school than actually the fact that I was getting tattooed. I think he was actually more upset that I had a mohawk, you know, like, that was something you couldn't hide. And
you can't cover it up with the sweater.
Yeah, and like, what will the church think and all that shit. So, so I remember getting my GED. Like I went in after my dad was like hassling me about it, about not graduating. Yeah. And it took me like 45 minutes, passed it real quick, and I was like, "Here, Dad, are you happy?" And he's like, "That's not the point," you know. But it's weird because like my family, we were always like nurturing art. Like, you know, my parents, we didn't have like, we couldn't afford shit, you know. So we like, you know, they were really strict, and, you know, I practiced piano 2 hours a day since I was 5 or 6 or something. So like, and then, you know, we growing up like kept the Sabbath. So like, you know, when the sun sets on Friday, we didn't do anything normal, like, until the sun sets on Saturday, which is kind of funny. It sounds so much like witchcraft to me now.
I was going to say that, yeah.
Like, it's so spooky. But, so anyways, so we just played a lot of instruments, you know, and then I was drawing all the time. And my parents were always very nurturing to that. You know?
That's incredible.
Like, they were always like, you know, I remember them taking me to like, you know, at the school I would win an award and they'd have a ceremony, and my mom and dad would always take me there. So it's not like they were ever anti that. I think when I decided to tattoo as a career, they questioned it just like any other parent would, like, you know, is my child going to be safe and happy and all that, you know? And they didn't see it as a job. And it took like a decade, I'd say a decade. I guess once I got a TV show, my dad called me and was like, oh, I get it now, you know? I understand. But prior to that, there was just a lot of fear. So I think, you know, I'm glad that I never listened to all the people that told me, you know, oh, you're never going to make it, or that's just a dream or something. And those people are dream crushers, you know, and I don't even think they mean to be. I just think they're growing up like thinking like you live, you know, you settle for something, you fuck, you have kids, and you like die like unhappy and bald or something, you know? And I think there's just so much more I always had that. I don't know where it came from, to be honest, because it's not like my parents were that way, you know? They just, so whatever demon possessed me as a child, I'm so glad I listened to that.
I mean, I list dropping out of high school as one of the things I'm like, I didn't know that about you, but I as one of the things I'm the most proud of. Where it was like, it takes like a lot. I mean, like, and I'm not one of those people that's like, if you want to be a doctor, I'm not like, school's a scam. It's just same deal. I knew what I wanted to do.
You know, I think school works great for a lot of people. I mean, AA works great for a lot of people. I'm sober. I don't go to AA, you know, like, so I think it's whatever works for you. But I think that, and also too, I think that I went about it the hard way. You know, I didn't, you know, I could have gotten an apprenticeship or something, and I just went really blindly into it. So, you know, maybe I could be a better artist if I hadn't done it that way, but I really wouldn't change it, you know?
Right, totally.
But I think that, you know, with all of that being said, I think, going back to your question, I should have warned you that I talk a lot.
I was going to say, I was thinking that I should have warned you that I digress a lot too, where I'm like, you hit so many other things that I was like, oh my God,
Well, I mean, I think it's like important, like, to question our ideas of like happiness, success. You know, we have these things that tend to be programmed a lot of times. I think, you know, and some things that I've worked really hard at breaking, you know, it's like, understanding like what beauty is to you, or, you know, like a lot of people assume that success equals dollars or, you know, social status and stuff. And I think maybe that's where I got it from my parents, where they from the beginning of time, they just always taught me like that shit's not important, you know, and like, and to not focus on that stuff. And so it's helped me to like really stay in tune with like, what is it that I really want to do and why? So like, I want to be a tattooer. I had no idea it could be a job. I just did it because I loved it. And every day was so exciting because I just wanted to see like how I could outdo myself the next day, you know? And so then it's like, that to me was success. And then if I get paid, that's cool too on top of it.
It's like a fucking bonus.
So there's like people be like, oh, you can say that because, you know, you're fucking rich or whatever. But it's true though. I mean, there's so many opportunities that I've passed up that, you know, that whether they went against my morals or whatever, like, I'd rather just not take the money. Like, that's not gonna make me happy. You know what I mean?
Oh my God. One day I want Allison and I just to like post publicly the list of shit we turned down that just was like so against our values, and we just were like, we needed the fucking money, but like we couldn't do it. And
so I think that's success. And so it's like, if someone were to be like, how do you do it when the whole world tells you shouldn't? It's like, well, I mean, it's up to you eventually, you know, what you want to do. Some people are happy with working in a cubicle and having the wife, kid, and picket fence and all that shit, and that's great, dude, if that's your goal, you know. But I just strongly just urge people to just make your goals conscious, you know, instead of just laid out for you.
Totally. And I think that's like the demon you were talking about, right? I think it's the not being raised on like materialistic things and finding something where like you could be poor as shit right now, I could be poor as shit right now, and we would still be doing the thing we're doing, and probably still be pretty happy. Like it would be harder.
I mean, on the flip side, it's like, I think if I was born rich, I think I would have had a much more challenging time, like trying to stay in tune as to what I want to do, because like, you know, like I don't know, like I think that certain character is built from suffering and from, you know, the struggle. And
I mean, like,
so I think things wouldn't have come to me the way they have if I would have been like better off. Or if it was easy, if it was accepted. Like nowadays, I think kids, like parents want to buy their kids tattoo machines and stuff. It's like, you know, it might change your learning curve, you know. I don't know, it's interesting.
That's so awesome. I'm so sorry I like blindsided you with those questions,
cool.
But I was like, that's perfect. So we can talk about the animals. I could literally have talked to you about that forever. I'm glad you listed the when you were listening to your statistics about people being tattooed, how you said women. So Allison, my co-host, is also heavily tattooed. And there is still sort of like, what we notice is like, when I'm tattooed, like no one gives a shit. Or it's like cool. But like when Allie goes on the news, like when she goes on MSNBC,
it's extreme.
It's totally extreme. And I remember Janine Garofalo was one of the first people who like came on the show.
She's so cool. Oh my god. I've always thought she was the coolest.
You guys would fucking love each other if you haven't met her yet. But she told Allison, she asked Allison if she covers up her tattoos when she goes on TV. And Allie never really thought of that. But Janine does, and Allie does too.
I cover up my tattoos a majority of the time, if I can. I mean, for photo shoots they'll ask me to reveal as much, but like I don't know. To me, it's very much like, I know it's an outward expression, but it is a very intimate thing for me. So it's like, I don't really care if people know I have 5 tattoos, but for me,
Well, it's crazy when she's on the news. You'll have people suddenly, everyone sounds like a fucking like grandfather.
Yeah.
Where they're like, oh, well, she sounds very nice, but I don't know why she would do that. And I'm like, I've never fucking gotten that. No one's ever tweeted me about like my tattoos, where I'm like, but hopefully like.
Are you complaining?
Oh, things are so hard for me as a guy in America. Like, why don't people notice my tattoos? Yeah, but like, it's crazy that even still now, but do you think the stigma is sort of like, becoming less with women, and there's like less sexism
for sure.
when it comes to that?
I think tattoos now are just not as taboo as they were, maybe to the older generation or whatever, or to some people that have certain preferences. But I think like, I don't know, prior to like these like TV shows being successful, I remember having like Julia Roberts moments every time I'd go to the mall. And like being followed around or thinking you're going to steal something. Whereas now, like, people give you props or like they ask you about your tattoos, people are more knowledgeable about it. But I think those like what those judgments will always be there, so it's not like that's ever going to dissipate. I kind of miss the days where people
were like shocked,
didn't talk to me, now it's more like people want to talk to you. It's like, oh, like, I mean, I'm social, but I'm quite antisocial too. So it's like so going to the airport, for example, I always cover up even when it's hot, and it's just so much easier just to get through it. And I forget how attention getting they are. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, especially when you leave like Los Angeles or New York.
Yeah, sure.
Like, I went to Orlando once, and you feel like you're like an exhibit. You're like, why are people pointing? At first, I'm like, oh, maybe they saw me on TV. I'm like, no, they don't know who I am. They're just like looking at the fucking tattoos. Okay, so I didn't even know you were. I'm not really like up on like the vegan scene, whatever that is. So I got so stoked because I've just been like a fan of yours, but
thanks.
I didn't really know that you went so fucking just like
hardcore,
so all in with the vegan stuff.
So I was vegan for a long time before I ever talked about it, and I used to feel like I don't like using the word hate because I don't hate it very much, but like I used to be annoyed by vegans, and I didn't like the label either. You know, I just be like, oh, I don't eat animal products, whatever.
Yeah. And you just give this long-winded diatribe instead of saying vegan.
Yeah, and it was mainly because my experiences that I did have with vegans were annoying, and not that there were not that there were so many vegans. I mean, now there's so many, and it's like whatever, it's awesome. But So I'll back up. So first, the reason I was vegetarian for a long time, and then I watched Forks Over Knives, and I was like, oh, this makes sense. I mean, I don't want to live forever. I don't know why people want to live forever.
No, that sounds horrible.
Like, it sounds exhausting. And but if I'm going to be here, I'd like to, I think it's a scam, It's like, fuck, man, like, this should be public knowledge, if you knew, like, it has nothing to do with animals, just like the direct correlation between diet and how it affects you. And, you're gonna be hard pressed to find somebody who hasn't, in some way or another, experienced the aftermath of cancer. And it's like, to me, it's like a no-brainer after I watched that documentary. So I just cut out dairy and eggs and all that stuff after that, and so I became vegan. And then, but it wasn't until I started really like learning about until I started realizing and questioning animals and like their relationship with humans, it's like that's when it really started to change for me, where I was like, I realized how can I like love my cat, and then and then like how could I wear leather? I was wearing leather for like a long time, like I thought I was vegan if I just stopped eating meat and dairy, you know?
Because I think the difference was you were doing it for you and for health and kind of
Whereas
like if I'm doing something for health, I'm not gonna be a dick about it. Like I'm not gonna go up to strangers and be like, "Why don't you fucking exercise?"
And then when you realize it's a social injustice, it's not really about diet at all. I mean, that's maybe like an asterisk, you know what I mean?
Perk.
Yeah, or it's like a symptom of it, you know?
Right.
Like,
that's better. Yeah.
But I think like so. And some people are vegan for the environment and don't care about animals or their health, and for me, I've evolved into being all three of them, but prominently about the animals. Like, I've lost so much sleep over it, and then I finally understood why people were overbearing about it. Doesn't mean that I want to be that. Like, I don't, because I don't think it's effective.
No, I think it's almost counterproductive sometimes.
A lot of times, yeah. And so then the Cecil the lion thing happened. And I remember, because obviously you're here in my house. I don't have electronics here, so I don't have television.
Oh, right.
But I can gauge what's going on in the world by my Twitter feed, like what people are responding to. And I remember it was actually a coworker of mine who I love dearly, but he's not vegan. And I never judged him for it, but like he posted like fuck that guy who like killed a lion or whatever, and I just thought to myself, wait a minute, dude, you fucking slaughter like cows, pigs, like all fucking day in an even more torturous way if you think about it.
Drawn out, slowly,
far more painful and dramatic and emotional. Yeah, totally. Where I was like, not to say that like the lion got it off easy, because that sucks too. Yeah. But like if you were to compare, and then also the amount, it's like I started getting offended by all these people. I understood where they were coming from, So then I posted a tweet, and that was like my first vegan tweet.
Yeah.
where I'm sure
the backlash was great and positive.
It was the first time I cried in a long time when
really?
I said, and I tried wording it in the most like unbiased, like cautious way.
I do that too, where I'm like, you're gonna want to be mad.
Where it's just like, hey, just consider this, and instantly I think people took that message where I said, hey, there's no difference between somebody who like kills a cow or slaughters a farm animal and the dentist who shot a lion, when you're putting that on your plate, because that's like meat is murder. And so
when you're also fucking eating it, so it's even a step weirder than the lion
it's
thing.
Strange. Yeah. So then I saw that the response was very much where people, what they took from it wasn't the message. It was basically, it magnified something about them that they felt they need to protect. And so I was just getting tons of just hatred. Yeah. And none of my friends texted me. I remember I had my friend Ashton, who's been a hardcore vegan forever, was the first person that texted me and said, hey, I love what you posted. But I was like sitting at the edge of my bed, going through all these messages. I mean, there was one lady who took a picture of herself in front of a deer that she'd hunted. Jesus. And she's holding its heart, laughing, and God, at the camera and saying like "fuck you" and you whatever. And I just remember looking at that and going, "I'm not like, I didn't take it personally. I cried because I felt like it was such a big symbol of like where we are, like like where people were celebrating like hurting something else."
Yeah, it's also so like, I want to go back to that, but it's also so strange, like what the woman sent you, how like vegans are always the ones who are called like preachy, right? Where it's like all you did was kind of like point out a hypocrisy, and in return I was like, I think that's far less preachy than some lady who like dug out this old fucking photo of her like murdering a deer, sending it to you, a stranger, where it's like, I get so much more shit for being vegan than I even talk about being vegan. Yeah. Where it's like, and I think they use preachy as sort of like a weapon, but in reality it's like, more people go after vegans and criticize vegans. Every fucking billboard or commercial I see is for like meat or for whatever. And I'm like, I don't know when we got labeled preachy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so I think what's happened is because everything's so normalized, And so obviously, like, I think vegans are 1% of humanity, which is a very small. So even though it's on the rise, but like, so I understand. Like, that's the thing. I totally understand, because I was non-vegan for a long time. Like, but yeah. So I think I don't know. It's. I wanted to disappear a couple of years ago, like literally just disappear, and I like looked into it, and finding land elsewhere overseas and just disconnecting forever and just falling off the face of the planet and then like focusing on my art, you know?
Yeah.
And
that happened to me after all that like rape joke stuff we were talking about before the show, where like any meeting I had with like agents, they were like, what's your goal? Hoping it would be like some lofty TV thing. I'm like, my goal is to get famous enough where I can fucking get off Twitter and disappear forever.
Yeah, throw my phone in the ocean.
But
yeah, no, so but then you know, now I was following through with like a serious plan to do that, and then and I just, the more and more I would learn about like what's happening to the animals, I just felt like that I would be of more service if I remained here and kept everything up and you know, figure out my own voice, you know, like, because I think the preachy vegans are good for something. I mean, not good for something, that sounds terrible, but like their voices operates on a frequency for specific people that need to hear it that way. I don't necessarily like it, but like that's just me. But so I can try and be a different influence, you know. That's
important.
Yeah,
it's important because so many people will say like, "Oh, I didn't think I liked vegans." Like you probably get that, right? Like, or I didn't think like I would like vegans, but like hearing you talk about it the way you did, like makes more sense. I think you have to hit it from like all different angles.
But I think like the need to like talk about it, it's not that in any way that like I feel better than anybody. Like that's like a big, you know, argument. It's like, oh, vegans think they're better than everybody, but not at all. I actually like constantly I'm in a state of trying to figure out a way to forgive myself. Like I feel immensely guilty for all of like the pain and suffering I've caused to human beings or people in my whole entire life, you know, and I'd like try to figure out a way to make that right, make your wrongs right.
Totally.
You know, so
you also want to be like, hey, we're artists, we fucking hate ourselves. Like, calm down, we're not preaching. Yeah.
But I think too, it's like if I saw somebody getting bullied or somebody getting beat up or raped, or if I lived during the time of the Holocaust, I wouldn't be the silent ones, or I wouldn't be the ones that were too scared to say something. And I know that if I was in the Holocaust, or if I was in the farm factories or wherever, on the organic farms that pretend to be humane or whatever, like I would be hoping and wishing that somebody didn't forget me, and like, you know, I would be thankful for whoever did that for me. So I just think it goes back to the golden rule, you know.
Totally.
And so that's it.
And then what do you? Because I feel like when it does come to like, so like lots of our listeners, I think by the time this airs, they might still be like with their family, and like. When you talked about the backlash you got, and like, yeah, that's definitely one of the things I get the most backlash for. I think that a lot of it has to do with like projection, right? Where like the reason people get so defensive is because people fucking love animals. That's why I think like what you do, even like Miley Cyrus like posting so much about being vegan, like people who have like young people who also look up to them. I think it's so important because when you think about the way we're raised, where it's like kids would be fucking horrified to figure out what they're eating. Like we're raised like watching Disney movies, like going to petting zoos, playing with our animals, and then it just becomes like you don't know what a McNugget is, right?
Yeah.
You don't associate that with like.
I think dairy is like an easy one. You know, it's like we like my whole life thought like calcium, that's where you get it from, or whatever.
Yeah, totally.
Or you know, like I'll go as far as to say like this is how dumb, like, and ignorant and naive I was. Like I'd never really thought about where dairy comes from. I just assumed that there was a breed of cows that produced milk, like a pear tree produces pears. Like I didn't realize like that there's absolutely no way that you could be a feminist, and I am a feminist, and drink dairy. Like when there's such thing as a thing called the rape rack.
Yeah, and that's not even a nickname.
No,
that's like literally what they call it.
So I think like, you know, when I do see feminists who are like, you know, eating cheese pizza and stuff, like it does bum me out because they don't really understand what they're supporting, which is an industry that really, you know, hurts females.
Well, and I think what's so interesting. So our main audience isn't necessarily like vegans, but they're like lefties, right? So like feminist journalists.
So they're all left-handed?
They're all left-handed. Yeah, they're very sad all day. And and I noticed that like liberals a lot of times will attack vegans even harder than like conservatives, right? Like I feel like, I think I said this somewhere before, I feel like conservatives like already think I'm gay and assume vegan is like the same thing, so they're like whatever, like they don't, you're not going to convince like Donald Trump not to eat steak, right? But I always got so confused at first when people on the left got so fucking angry about vegans, and then I realized I think it's like because like going vegan is like everything the left stands for, right? It's like labor rights, global warming. Every liberal blogger has a cat. Fucking animal rights. I mean, there's so many different reasons. Yeah. But it's a people see it at first as a sacrifice you have to make. Like once you go to like vegan restaurants, and like it's not. But and so
it's a life change. It's a change. Like
it's a change.
It like people. It's like quitting drinking or breaking a bad habit or like for me it would. Like I cuss a lot. I'd have to be conscious of something, and maybe that change requires uncomfortability, which I think
totally.
And also it requires admittance of wrong. So like for example, like when I first realized what I was doing, I was like, I watched Earthlings. I remember when I was sitting there with my. I watched it twice so far.
Good for you.
Well, the first time by myself with my cat. The second time because my friend wanted to watch it but didn't want to watch it alone. I was like, I'll take one for the team.
God, good on you. You're a better friend than I am.
And he's a vegan now, which is great.
Great, it works.
I paused it I think 2 or 3 times during that documentary and cried to my cat, and I asked my cat Piaf, like, what have we done? And it's like, so I think like there's that part where I don't know. I think admittance of what we've done, like. Like I didn't know about leather and that shit, like how it actually worked. I mean, I understood it came from a cow, but I didn't know it was even gnarlier than I could ever dream about.
I didn't know the dairy shit. I just thought, like, I was a vegetarian for a long time, and I just thought, vegan just meant, like, preachy vegetarian. Like, I didn't know dairy was bad. I was like, well, that's the thing they do. That's the thing the animals do for fun. Is they, like, make this food for us. And then, but, like, I wouldn't eat them. And then when I found out how much, I think a lot of people don't know just, like, the torture that goes into the dairy part of it. Because you think, like the dairy is what happens naturally, and then maybe killing them is bad or eating them is bad. But once I found out about the torture, I was like, fuck. Like, that's when I had to stop.
Totally.
So what I was going to ask you is, so because like a lot of people who, and I think that's the most frustrating when you see like people who share your values otherwise, and they get so mad about the vegan stuff. But again, I do think it's like that projection and like self-preservation or whatever, where anytime like PETA fucks up and like puts like a sexist ad out or whatever, it's not great. But I see everyone on the left so excited to bash PETA, and they're like, I'm gonna eat a steak, and these are like feminist journalists and stuff because fuck PETA. And I mean, how many times like I've gotten into like vegan conversations with like, I'm a vegan. They're like, well, what do you think about when PETA does this? I'm like, I don't fucking know, man.
And like, also too, it's like churches for the sinners. I mean, it's like I don't have a problem with religion, like per se. I just maybe organized religion is the problem, and it's because it's like, or AA, same thing. It's like, hey, what do you expect? They're alcoholics. You're gonna hear some fucking dumb stories sometimes. You know what I mean? Or hey, like you go to church, people are gonna fuck up, like and do bad shit, and like. Or a vegan, like, hey, like, guess what? Like, I killed a bug on my way to work on accident, and like, I didn't mean to, but I'm not. It doesn't mean that my entire fucking like existence is.
That you might as well like
stupid.
Go to Taco Bell, or
totally. Or just kill myself or something. But, but you know what's exciting amongst all this, and I don't want to come off like I'm just complaining about being a vegan because I think that's annoying too. But like, but what I'm excited about is just. When I look at like my daily practice, like what I'm doing, like whether it's creating a makeup line or writing a song or making a shoe line, like I just see these all as opportunities to like, well, how can I make it easier for people, and like I think there's like a new generation of what I like to think of as modern vegans. Like I'm a modern vegan, and that's not I don't not to say it's hacky sacking socks or Birkenstocks or lame, but like. I'm not like a granola like type vegan. Like I I have style and like I wear lipstick and and so I think that there's a lot of these people, kids or whatever age out there, and so I'm like, okay, I want to either create products or make it easy for them to live like a cruelty-free life.
That's awesome. Yeah, because that was gonna be my question, which is like, how do you deal with the people? How do you convince people that like should be on your side? And I think that's why it's like really important. What you do is like just give them fucking options.
Yeah, I mean, well, I don't think it's. I don't want to convince anybody. Like, it's not. I think because I feel like convincing means like I want people to, have whatever information and you make your decision from that. But then, and it's also not my side. Like I don't, because like that's the one thing that I love about being a vegan is that like there's nothing to be gained from it. Like like getting more people to consider or start changing their way of life. Like I gain nothing from it. Of course, the environment for sure, but like it's not like I don't make money. I don't, you know what I mean? So it's like like it's not my side. I just think it's on how do you get on your best side, you know?
Right.
Like that's all really we could do.
No, it's a really good point. And like, I feel like it's also, you know, now with like Trump and all this stuff, I feel like it's so easy to feel like helpless. Like there's so much to do. And ever since I went vegan, that was like the one decision I can make where I'm like, man, every fucking day I feel like I'm making a tangible difference. And it makes you feel like a better person, and that empowers you to go do more.
See, I feel the opposite.
Shit.
I wake up,
you feel like you're not doing enough?
I wake up and I'm just like, you know, well, sometimes I've been having nightmares lately, but I'm going to tell you what happened, okay? Like this last month, like something fucked me up really bad, more than Earthlings. And I didn't think it was going to, and it did. And I've had a hard time bouncing back from it, you know? And so I've been like trying to surround myself with like activists and other people that like help me not feel better, but maybe get a better understanding so that I can not be depressed and not, you know, like I haven't been depressed, and I mean like clinically depressed in years, but I feel myself going that way lately. And I got asked by this organization called Animal Equality to do a voiceover for this thing that they described as like it's like a video, and I was like, yeah, sure, anything, like, dude, if it's anything for the animals, like, count me in, I don't care. Totally. And so I showed up, and I really had no idea what it was, and it was like this virtual reality, like, you know, they take these 360 cameras. And
is that the thing Tony did?
Tony did one for the.
Oh my god, Tony was like, you got to check out my virtual reality thing, and I was like, I love you like a brother. Nope. Like, well, I'm already vegan.
I want people to, yeah, I know. And I asked myself that too. I'm like, why do I make myself, I'm already vegan.
I know. But everyone else, totally watch it.
It's important. Like,
it's so important.
I do watch all that stuff on a constant basis, but it's because I'd like to build my arsenal of information, because I think that's important.
And it motivates you.
And I need to know what's going on. And I am overly sensitive, but I think that's a really good quality of mine, you know?
Totally.
And I want to keep that, you know?
But,
so I did the narration for this video, and then at the end they were like, hey, like, would it be cool if we film you like putting on these like VR glasses, whatever they're called, virtual reality glasses or goggle things, and you know, we just want to film your reaction. And I was like, all right, well, I know I'm gonna get pissed off, so as long as I can say motherfucker and shit like that, you know. And they're like, yeah, sure, no problem. And I put it on, and just like 1 second into it, I just filled up those goggles with tears. But it was such a, you know, I think about these undercover investigators.
It was on the factory farm?
Yeah, so I'll tell you about it.
Okay.
So it's like, but before I do, like, I like think about these undercover investigators all the time. Like, how are they doing it? Because I can watch Earthlings and it fucks me up, but I wasn't even there, you know? And I've talked to a lot of these guys.
They're like badass journalists,
but I think a lot of it's like, wow, like such a, what a saint, you know? Like to be a witness to that and pretend to be okay with it just to get enough footage just to give that information, rightfully so, to the public. It's just that's like true heroes to me, right?
For sure.
And so this to me felt like the closest that I could ever get to that. You're inside. I mean, when you have these goggles on, and so basically you take they took this 360 camera into a farm factory. The one I watched was the one that Tony narrated, which is the pig one.
Yeah.
And
pigs, like, if anyone doesn't know, like the sweetest animals. Like when you see them, like they literally run around like
and
puppies.
Just their capability of like, they remember who their mom is. Like, you know, like how can you not relate to like what, you know, like what goes on in there? And so So like the video shows you like the life of a pig from the beginning all the way to the day of slaughter, and it's only 9 minutes long. And you can, like, when you have these goggles on, you can look up, you can look down, you can look around, and you see everything as if you are that pig. It's all filmed at the eye level of the animal. And so, you know, the first scene, it's like I'm in one of the cages that they are in, and so I look to my left, and there's like this pig that's right here, and I just saw his little eyelashes, and I just, you know, like in like a microsecond, like this is what I thought. I just looked at the eyelashes, and I'm like I said, I'm not like a part of a religion or anything like that, but I think about my dad. My dad's still a Christian and stuff, and you know, he sees like animals as, you know, God's creatures of God, you know, and I see it the same way. Just replace the word God with Mother Nature, you know what I mean? Sure. And I'm like, man, Mother Nature is such a badass. Like, she fucking designed you so perfectly, like designed me so perfectly for what I'm designed to do. It's like, you have eyelashes, and those are meant to like whisk out dust from your eyes, you know, and like, look at your legs, like you're designed to like, you know, walk, and like, and I look up while I have these goggles on, and I just realize that there is no sunlight in there. Like, these pigs literally see no sunlight their entire existence. And the little eyelashes, like, they were all designed for what? For nothing? Like, this does not make sense to me, you know? And so, you know, I watched the babies getting castrated, you know, obviously without any anesthesia and all that stuff. Not that anesthesia would even fucking make it better, but, and then all the way up until the point of slaughter. And
they should be like really scared, right? Like on their way, like,
or
is that
so,
just cows or is that all animals?
All animals.
They sense it, right?
Well, they're in line, dude. They see what's happening, and then they get to witness their brother and their sister and their mom or whoever getting killed in front of them. Jesus. I mean, it's just a nightmare. So anyways, I was done with. I took these goggles off at the end, and I was just bawling out of control. I was like, I don't even think you guys.
I would have started attacking the staff. I would have been so mad.
No, I mean, dude, and I mean, animal quality is so awesome. Like,
they're amazing.
The dude who was filming me was the undercover investigator who went he's in it to win it, and all I could look. I gave him a big hug, and I was like thank you, you know, like thank you for. I can't believe you fucking had to do that, you know, or see that, and so anyways, I drove home that day, and I was like, just in my own head, and I've had a hard time bouncing back since. Like, I think about that because it's going on, as, you know, as we do this podcast and all that. And so it's like, how could I just stand here and not say anything, you know, and not do anything? So yeah, you know, like, it's nice to see, like, you know, Mercy for Animals Instagram is great. They're always like, oh, don't give up. It's great. Look at all the progress we're making. That's totally great. I just can't unhear and unsee what's happening right now, and I feel helpless a lot, you know, like I feel like, you know, I'm not, every day I just want to figure out a better way to be more influential in that way, in a way that people would be, I don't know, receptive.
See, that's what I think it is, though. If you can use that as, like, motivation instead of, like, because you also have to take care of yourself. And, like, we talk about activist burnout. Like, so many of our listeners started, like, Occupy Wall Street chapters back in the day, or have been, like, on the front lines of, like, LGBT, you know, organizations, and, like, sometimes they feel really fucking burned out and they don't take care of themselves and they, like, want to quit.
Or they get super resentful and hateful towards humanity to the point where they don't function.
Yeah, but then it's, like, if you can, like, take care of yourself and also, like, notice, like, all the good you're doing. Like, I mean, fuck, think about even just, like, food-wise or popular culture-wise, how hard it was to get good food as a vegan, like, what, like 10 years ago? Like, how far it's come?
I know, but like, I think too, like, I'm already like a recluse, you know, I don't really leave my house unless I'm contractually bound to or whatever. But it's like I look at my social circle and it's like, you know, I am closed-minded, you know, I have to be in order to protect my sanity. Like, you know, what might be very casual to somebody, like eating a chicken sandwich, to me is so painful to watch. And like, you know, my fuse, like, I don't have one anymore. So it's like, you know, my dad, I love my fucking dad so much. He's 64 and he just became, like, officially hardcore vegan this last year.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
So amazing. And he's doing it for the animals, which is even cooler.
That's the best.
Yeah, and we watched the Gary Yourofsky, like, speech on YouTube, and after that he shook my hand and he was like, I can't believe I ever contributed to that. And I can't, you know, and this is coming from a man from Argentina who's, like, brought up on milanesa and carne asada. Like, that's what we were brought up with, you know?
God.
And but it's really awesome to watch him philosophize all that stuff.